Hey, so I wanted to make a quick video about one of the top questions that used to be asked on the Neville Goddard subreddit back in the day when I was a poster there, and eventually, for a short, wild stint, never again a moderator there. One of the questions that would come through all the time, and that was often discussed, was, how do I talk to other people about the thing I'm manifesting? If I'm supposed to be living in the end, as Neville Goddard says, if I'm supposed to be thinking from the end and living as though I already have this thing, how do I talk to other people? And first and foremost, I want to address what I think is a major misunderstanding in that area, which is that you are supposed to pretend that something is a way that it isn't. So this mostly came up about the specific person category. How am I supposed to live and behave if in my mind I am living as Frank's wife when Frank doesn't even know who I am? How do I live like this and talk about this without sounding insane? Now, I don't know. I think anybody who is sane would have questions about that whole idea. And in my opinion, it's got nothing to do with anything. You never, first of all, the whole specific person thing is really just, that's something you really might want to think twice about getting involved in. But, living in your mind as somebody's wife, I don't really think that's what Neville Goddard was going for here. He basically said, if you want to be married, fall asleep at night with, actually tactilely in your mind, touching your wedding ring on your finger. Fall asleep with the feeling of being someone's wife, which God even knows what that means today versus 1950. It is not the same. It is a different day and age. I don't even know what that would mean these days. What does it feel like to be someone's wife these days? I don't know. Back then, I think that was more of a very specific and defined role in life. And so it was, I think, Neville Goddard being the law of assumption guy, it was a lot easier for somebody to sort of feel as though they were in the role of homemaker and husband, taker, carer, and all that stuff. So anyway, people nowadays, this specific person thing has gone crazy. And so now people are like, I don't even know how they are doing that. I don't even know how they are imagining themselves as specifically married to someone. But I think the form it's taking, based on what I've read online, is just, some really batshit insane stuff. And so they're like, well, what am I supposed to do when somebody asks about my dating life? Do I actually speak as though I am in a relationship with this person that I am not in a relationship with? I mean, if you want to get involuntarily committed, I think that's probably a good place to start. It's beside the whole point. The law of assumption is not about, I assume that X, Y, and Z will happen. I don't have the information, but I assume it will. I assume that I am a smart person. I assume, I don't know that I am. I haven't experienced that I am, but I assume that I am. That's not what that means. The law of assumption, the word assumption means to take on. So, in this context. So the law of assumption means taking on and becoming, actually being the thing that you want to be. Daring to believe that though you haven't experienced yourself as that you are inherently what it is that you desire to see manifest in yourself. So you take that on and you start becoming that. You start feeling that, you start bringing it out of yourself. You take on that role. And you start to mentally and sort of vibrationally, by the way, Neville Goddard used the word vibration many times. This is not a new age thing. This is a Neville Goddard era at the very early, or what's the word I'm looking for? At least by the time Neville Goddard was around, people were talking about vibration. So that's what that means. And so when you're trying to manifest something, and this is why I don't, if you think about the specific person thing, doesn't really fall into that category, go ahead and smash that dislike button, smash it hard. I don't care. Becoming somebody who is right a match for the type of relationship that they want to be in, that's Neville Goddard. And I made a video, an SP video not that long ago, about how to actually manifest your SP, in which I said, if you want to do the Neville Goddard thing, if you're so desperately fixated on this specific person, then you have to become whatever that person would want you to be. People don't like that. A bunch of people replied, no, I'm going to become what I want to be, and that person is going to become what I want them to be. Good luck, you guys, all of you people in that category. Let me know how it goes. Remind me in 5 years, okay? Come back and leave a comment in 5 years. Let me know how it's going for you. I don't think that is the idea, and I don't think that is the point of all of this. But anyway, so when you're actually, doing the real thing, in my opinion, which is actually becoming who you want to be, taking on the state of the person who has the things you want. So let's say you want to be in a relationship. Let's say you want to have a lot of money. You want to have any of these big, you want to be healthy, wealthy, whatever. When you think about the vibration of that person that has those things, it would probably, it would probably be quite different from the way you're existing right now. There would probably be a certain sense of security, a certain sense of self-worth that you don't currently possess. And when you start to take on those sort of broad feelings, it's a big change, but it often precedes a big outer change. And so when people ask you about those outer things, the way you talk to them about your manifestation is with that vibe. So if somebody asks you, how is your dating life going? And it's been a total mess. Or how are your finances? First of all, you would respond from that vibration. You would respond from that central place of security, sort of calmness, feeling good about yourself, and having that be able to be expressed just through your mannerisms, your words. That's one aspect of it. But another thing is, what are you going to say? Because it's, I think, important to think about this ahead of time and decide how you're going to handle this. And how would the person who already has the things that you want, if they had to come back to the very beginning, if the you in the future had to time travel back to where you are now, how would this greater version of yourself handle these conversations? And what I would suggest personally is keep it, don't lay all your cards on the table with people. You don't have to discuss these things. There's no obligation that you have with anyone in your life to openly and thoroughly discuss every little aspect of the changes that you're trying to make. And in fact, I think that's detrimental. When you're gathering up this energy and when you're making these internal changes, it's kind of like, you're putting something in the oven to bake. And if you keep opening it and poking at it, which is definitely what dissecting it with somebody, talking with somebody about it is, it just doesn't really have a chance to fully form and harden and turn into whatever it's supposed to be. So I would talk about this as little as the specifics, as little as possible. But here's a little technique that, and you may not want to do this depending on what your personality is or what your relationships with other people are like, but this is a really beneficial thing. When you're asked about this stuff, a very simple way to respond would be, I don't want to jinx it by talking about it too much, but I do feel like some positive changes are happening there. And I really don't want to go into a lot of detail about what it is. We can talk about it when it's fully, manifested, or we'll talk about it more later when more has happened. But, and then you go into a different topic to shut these people up. Okay. You go into this topic, which is beneficial to you and everyone, which is to say something like, I think I'm really starting to understand that my attitude about things really matters. Or, I'm starting to think that a lot of the things that haven't worked out for me have just been because I didn't think they would. Like, turn the conversation to some of these more fundamental base level ideas about how manifesting works in life. And you don't have to use the word manifesting, but just these are like life terms. These are life things. So sort of like turn the conversation that way, in whatever way makes sense. If you're 17 and you're talking with your friends about this, I have to tell you, I don't have kids and my niece is 23. I don't really know what's going on with the kids these days. Maybe kids are really talking openly about this. When I was 17, we weren't talking like too deeply about any of this stuff, I don't think. And so, you'd have to tailor this for your specific interactions with people. But, getting the idea, like starting to talk about the idea that your attitude towards things really matters. And, that what you expect is often what you get. People like this idea. It's very empowering for anybody. So if you start talking about this with people, and if you kind of like redirect the conversation away from the specific details of your life, parts of your life that people know aren't working and they want to know how it's going, or whatever, if you turn the conversation away and direct it at that becomes a productive conversation for you and them and everybody. You know what I mean? Because everybody's attention turning in this direction is beneficial. Everybody starting to think a little bit about this is beneficial. So, and the nice thing is that you might end up getting a little gem from this person, especially if it's like your grandma or something. You turn a conversation in that direction and you might get randomly some sort of really like juicy gem, some bit of life experience or wisdom from somebody that you weren't expecting. Maybe somebody that you didn't even, you've never had more than a surface level conversation with. It turns out this is a really deep person that has a lot of personal experience or insight or something, and it may very well just be something that you need to start to move forward. So that is what I would do with that if you have the guts to do it. I know it can be really difficult. Certain people kind of are in a doormat role, and if somebody asks them a question, they almost feel obligated to give the person whatever they're looking for. I'd just like to remind you, you have no obligation to do that. And if you're at that point in life, one of the things you're going to have to do at some point is start to learn to put boundaries up for yourself and start to value yourself to the point where you're like, you know what, I'm going to have to risk somebody not liking me in order to respect myself. You're going to have to face up to that at some point. So this is a good way to start. You know what I mean? Good place to start. If anybody is coming at you with, give me some information, and it's information you really don't want to share because you are still in the oven baking, you have the absolute right to redirect that conversation away and refuse to give them a bunch of details that you don't feel like giving them. But I think most people just are kind of clueless. Am I supposed to pretend like I already have money? Am I supposed to pretend like I'm in a relationship when I'm not? And the answer is no. No, that is not a part of this. You think from that state, you think from it as being a sure thing. The more you can think, the more you can feel as though it's already now. Not necessarily that the event has taken place or the thing has been achieved, but you can feel the way you would feel after that, which is that this isn't something I need to obsess about. This isn't something that I'm thinking might not happen because it's already happened. It's a sure thing. I already know it happened. The more you can get that sort of vibe going, because that's all that really matters, the better. You know what I mean? The more you can do that, the more the whole thing will be natural and it will just manifest. And so you don't need to lie. Like it's not a matter of outwardly pretending something. It's a matter of inwardly shifting how you feel. It's a matter of an inner vibrational shift. And so the less you talk about the problems that you've had in the past with stuff, how nothing is happening, the less time you spend talking to somebody about that, the better. I mean, that can do nothing but be detrimental to maintaining sort of this feeling of having shifted. But yeah, it's really helpful. If you're planning on becoming a person that makes a lot of changes this way, if you're planning on being somebody who embraces all of this, this is a really good skill to start to develop, is how do I talk to other people about stuff like this. You know, like starting to practice not just like laying it all out for people is really useful. Especially if you're somebody like me that just like will talk and volunteer stuff. I mean, look at my channel. If you're somebody like me, that can be a skill that's really rusty. And trust me when I say you can get to the point where you have learned and developed the skill to shut your mouth when it matters. And so, yeah, becoming aware of that and putting a little bit of intention on that. You know, I need to learn how not to talk about things that it's better not to talk about. That itself can be an intention. And you'll be presented with plenty of opportunities to watch how you are talking about yourself and your life and your future prospects. You'll be presented with plenty of opportunities with that in day-to-day life.